Hey there, this is Dr. Mort Orman, and I want to continue our discussion today about science and some little known facts about science. And what I want to focus on today is, or the theme of today is that science is rarely, if ever, a done deal. It's rarely, if ever, definitive, absolute, 100% proof of whatever is being talked about. Science is more of an ongoing process. It's an iterative process. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. I remember when I was in medical school, or actually the first day of medical school, as I may have shared on another video, we had a meeting with the dean, and one of the things that the dean told us was that unfortunately about half of everything we were going to learn in medical school during the next 4 years, and of course this was 40-some years ago, was going to turn out not to be true. And in fact, that was correct. At least half, if not more, of what I was taught 40 years ago, which was the scientific knowledge of the day, today no longer holds up. And you could make the same statement to the incoming class of medical students this year, that half of what they're going to be taught during the next 4 years is going to ultimately turn out not to be true, because that's the nature of science. It's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing, and the insights get better and richer and sometimes change dramatically. So the reason why this is important is because the media tends to present science to you and feed science to you as if it's a done deal, as if it's a stamp of approval of a particular point of view, a particular opinion, or a particular philosophy, or maybe even a recommendation of what you should or shouldn't do. And they take one isolated study, and like most things in the media, they never give you the full picture. They don't talk about all the other studies that have come before that, all the other studies that, some studies that might be conflicting or have been done that don't show that particular result or contradict that particular result. They don't talk about the methodology that was involved in the study. Was it sound? Could the conclusions actually be drawn from what was the methodology that was used? And sometimes researchers will publish an article or publish a study, make conclusions, and you'll find that the conclusions aren't substantiated by the facts of the study. I know one of the great things about the New England Journal of Medicine, which I read religiously through my medical training and even after graduating and practicing medicine, was they would publish these very scientific research studies, many of which took years to complete. And then for the next several weeks and several issues, you would have people writing in letters who were dissecting the study, who were finding fault with it, who were finding weaknesses in it, some of whom said, the conclusions are totally unjustified. And you would follow that ongoing discussion. You would get more of a flavor for how what I'm talking about is science is an iterative process. It's rarely a done 100% deal. And there's some other reasons for this, which we'll talk about another video in this series. But I just want you to know that the main attitude you should bring to hearing any kind of scientific evidence being presented to you is you should have a healthy degree of skepticism. You should have a healthy degree of skepticism, because whatever it is that's being told to you is true might not be true a couple years from now, and also because the methodology or the way that information was arrived at, or the sample that was used to generate those observations that then led to broader conclusions may not all be valid. And I'm not saying disbelieve everything that you hear. There are some good things and some useful things that come out of science that you can sort of hang your hat on, at least temporarily. But you just, in general, you have to be skeptical, and you have to be careful of people trying to convince you of things and using science as the ammunition to make you believe something, make you feel something. Because a lot of times the people who are doing that don't have any idea of the whole long history in that particular topic or that particular area that has gone before, or all the alternative viewpoints and opinions that are out there with some equally impressive foundation to them. So you just have to understand that that's the nature of science. It's very uncertain. Very few facts truly turn out to be absolute 100% facts. And it does increase our uncertainty, but at the same time it keeps you from being sort of prematurely closing down your mind and say, okay, now we know the answer, this is the answer. Well, it may be, it may not be. So healthy skepticism is the proper attitude for listening to scientific information that's being fed to you by the media or on the internet or any other source you might find. Talk to you next time.